Hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lesson, during which I'll begin with a quick intro into Python. Now don't expect this to be a detailed lesson. I mentioned at the start of the course that I will be using Python and JavaScript within the demos and theory lessons. Now the actual split is somewhere in the region of 95% Python to 5% JavaScript. And I also mentioned that I didn't need you to be a programmer. This course, after all, is DynamoDB and not programming. The aim of this lesson is to introduce just enough Python to people who have no software engineering background that they can follow along with the examples. I don't expect that you'll be able to write anything in Python, but you should be able to comfortably read it or at least have a basic understanding of the structure of Python. So let's get started. So with Python, one of the most basic commands is print, and print prints something to the screen. So for example, if I typed print hi, i.e. the command that's shown on screen at the moment, the system would run the print command with a parameter of hi, and logically that would print hi to the screen. But I could also do print hi plus space plus hello. And this is asking print to print a concatenation of hi, a space, and hello. And you get the expected output below. But Python also has variables. And the easiest way to describe a variable is to think of it as storage for something. So I could set a variable called greeting and make greeting equal to hi, hello. And I'd do it with the command shown on screen at the moment. And then I could ask print to print the variable contents to the screen by using print greeting. And it would do so. And this would output the contents of the greeting variable to the screen, which would logically be hi, hello. Now a variable can be a string, and a string can store text, or alternatively it can be a number, which can store an integer. But it can also be what's called a boolean, which can be true or false. And there are many more complex data types in Python, such as a list, which is also known as an array. And a list can store a list of things. And you can reference any of these things by using the variable name and an index value. And index values start at 0. So to print the first value in the list shown on screen at the moment, I could do print list 0, and the 0 would be inside square brackets. And that would print the first element of the list, so in this case 1. Now there are more complex variable types in Python, and one such one is called dictionary. And you may recognize this when we move on to the more complex parts of the DynamoDB course. Now a dictionary is a collection of keys and values. The keys can be used to pull the corresponding value from the dictionary. Now a value can be a simple variable or can itself be a sub-dictionary. So let's look at this in practice. Now a dictionary is configured by saying the dictionary name equals open and closed curly brackets, i.e. as shown on screen at the moment. So with this example, we're defining a dictionary called person, and we're setting it to be a blank dictionary. So then I could set a key value into this dictionary by running the following command. And this would say that the age key inside the person dictionary is equal to the number 30. And I could also set the sex key of the person dictionary to be equal to the string F for female. And then just as before, I could print the whole dictionary object by using the print command, by doing print and then the variable name. And this would print the entire object, so both key value pairs that we've set, so age, number 30, sex, string F. Equally, I could print one of the key value pairs by providing that information to the print command. So by doing print person and then the key in square brackets, I could print the sex of the person dictionary. In this case, it would output F. Now I can also set one of the keys to itself be a dictionary. And I would do this with this statement. So I'm setting a key of the person object called bio, and the contents of that key is an empty dictionary object. Then I can set subkeys of the bio key. For example, in this case, I'm setting a key called weight to equal the number 200 inside the bio sub-dictionary of the person dictionary. I could also set another, in this case, I'm setting the height key to equal 192, and I'm setting this as a subkey of the bio key inside the person dictionary. And then I can also use the print command to print the value of a subkey. And in this case, I would just say print and then the person object, and then the bio key, and then the subkey that I want to print, i.e. in this case height. And that would output 192. Now variables can be modified. For example, I could modify the age value of the person dictionary by using this command, person age plus equals 1. Now this command is a short way of saying that person age equals person age plus 1, so it's a way of incrementing the age value. And if I was to print age after running this command, it would output 31. So it started above as 30, and then I've used this command to increment, and then it's printed 31. So that's variables, simple so far. At the start of section 3, I will detail how to set up your environment either on your local machine or a lab EC2 instance and install Python. So very soon you'll be able to go ahead and experiment with Python on either your local machine or the lab instance. So let's move on. The print command that I used on the last slide is built in. You provide it with something and it prints it. Its function's pretty easy. It's easy to make our own commands using functions, and we can do this by defining them. We need to give them a name and tell them any variables which will be passed to them. A function can do things and a function can return something. And let's have a look at a super simple example. In this case, I'll define a function called add, and I'll tell Python to accept two incoming variables, val1 and val2. Then I'll tell Python to return val1 plus val2 to the thing calling this function. Then just like with print, I can use this command and pass it two numbers, 1 and 2. Python will run the function, add the numbers, and return them, in this case giving 3. Print and add are the same thing. You've just watched a command in Python being made. I can also define functions elsewhere, i.e. not in the same Python file as the one my code is in, and then I can import it, for example, by doing import boto3. And by itself, this command will do nothing. All we're giving Python the instruction to do is to locate the boto3 library, i.e. collection of functions, and import them so we can use them within our code. But then I can run a command within boto3 by doing this command. So I'm saying, from the boto3 library, there is a command called command, and I want to run it. Or I can do a from boto3 import command, and this will allow me to directly run the command by just running command. Objects are special types of variables which can contain variables and commands, and this is how, using Python, we interact with DynamoDB or other AWS products. For example, I can ask Python to make an object called db by requesting that boto3, which is the AWS Python module, makes a connection to DynamoDB on my behalf, and I will do so using this command. Then I can interact with DynamoDB, for example, by creating a table using the create table command of the db object, which is part of boto3. So to reiterate, I've just made an object called db, and I've said that I want db to be equal to a resource of boto3 called DynamoDB. And then I'm saying from this resource, which is equal to DynamoDB, run the create table command. So think about the structure of that for a second, as it will help you read the scripts we'll use in later parts of the lesson. So next we have loops. And loops are good to control the flow in an application. Let's look at an example. First we set a variable, i.e. count, and we say that count equals the number 1. Then we create a while loop, and a while loop continues looping while the condition is true. And in this case, count starts as 1, and that is less than or equal to 3, so the loop runs at least once. Inside the loop, we use the print statement, and we say print high. And then we increment count, so we're saying that count is equal to whatever count was before plus 1. And again, this is just the shorthand way of writing this. The loop will then rerun, but this time count will be equal to 2 because we've incremented it. So the loop will run, it will print high again, and it will increment count once again. So now count is equal to 3, and that still means the condition is true, so the loop will run again. So it will print high again, it will increment count again, so then count is equal to 4, and then when the loop is reevaluated, it will not run because the condition does not equal true, because count is more than or equal to 3. So the output of this command will be high, high, and high, because the loop runs 3 times. Another type of loop is a for loop, and a for loop will do things a certain number of times for certain values and controls. An example is if I declared a variable called fruits, and it was a list or an array type, I could then use a for loop to step through each of the items in the list with this format. So each time the for loop ran, fruits would equal the first time apple, the second time orange, and the third time pear. So if my for loop had a print fruit, then each time the for loop ran, fruit would equal first time apple, second time orange, third time pear. So the output would be the first time apple, the second time orange, and the third time pear. And the for loop would run exactly 3 times, once for each of the items in the list or the array. Now let's look at an if statement, which is a way of testing if something is true and acting on it if it is, or doing something else if it isn't. Let's take a look at a variable called sex, and we set this variable to alien. Then we have the following code block. So we say if sex equals M, print it's a boy, else if sex equals F, print it's a girl, else print it's neither a boy or a girl, and that's fine. So if we run this, we get this output. It's neither a boy or a girl, and that's fine. So why is this? Well, if you look at the top, you can see that we've set sex to equal alien. So what happens? The first line of the if statement runs, and it says if sex is equal to M, then do something, and that's clearly not true. And then the second statement is else if sex is equal to F, then do something else, and that's not true either. Now the else part of an if statement runs if none of the preconditions are true. So in this case, sex does not equal M, and sex does not equal F. And so neither of the if elements are true, and so it runs the else. And in this case, it prints it's neither a boy or a girl, and that's fine. So these are just some of the basic elements of a Python script. I'm going to leave it at this, Cloud Gurus. I've introduced variables, I've introduced functions, I've introduced basic objects, dictionaries, and arrays, and I've given you a bit of an overview around for, while, and if statements, which are the structural elements of Python. So this is by no means a comprehensive lesson on Python. It is just a basic introduction so that you'll have enough information to read the scripts that we'll be using further along in this course. Okay, Cloud Gurus, I think that's enough for now. That should be just enough to allow you to understand the examples I'll use throughout this course. If you do want to study more, feel free to look for a Python course or other online materials. It's a great language and it will help you fully utilize DynamoDB. Equally, there are many other languages supported by the platform, such as Go, Ruby, JavaScript, Java, and many others. So don't let me influence you on choice of language. Thanks for listening, Cloud Gurus. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out directly or via the Cloud Guru forums. Otherwise, go ahead and complete this lesson and move on to the next.